A recent article by Entertainment Weekly stated that the Mandalorian does have a real name and that he won't simply be referred to as the Mandalorian the entire show. It's entirely possible that he could be a brand new character, but whenever we learn a detail like this, when we know he has a name that's being kept secret, it makes me think it's something significant, a name we've probably heard before. So today I figured we'd do a little speculation on what his family name might actually be. Let's start with the most well-known name, Fett. We've been told over and over again that Boba Fett will not be appearing in The Mandalorian, but maybe Boba has a long-lost cousin or something. On the one hand, I don't really think The Mandalorian will have any connection to the Fett since they're technically not Mandalorians. But on the other hand, like I said, it's the most well-known name out there. People that only watch the movies know Boba Fett. I think this is going to be a lot of movie-only fans' first time exploring the universe outside of the films, and their ears will perk up at any mention of the surname. I also think that could give the show a chance to reconcile Jango and Boba not being official Mandalorians. The show could explore what it really means to be a Mandalorian. Is it a blood right, or is it a way of life? The Mandalorian could be seeking belonging in their culture or something like that. Mandalorian space is huge, and maybe the Fetts were from one of its lesser planets or something and were always looked down upon. Maybe they've always been trying to gain the acceptance from their own people who don't consider them to be worthy. I don't know, that's a lot of speculation for something I don't really think is going to happen. I'm just trying to rationalize the possibility. The rest of these names are mostly from the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. I'll often argue against the movies, including things introduced in the TV shows, because most people that see Star Wars movies don't watch or read everything Star Wars has to offer. But then Maul showed up in Solo: A Star Wars Story and kind of forced me to shift my stance on that. Still, I think if The Mandalorian were to announce that he's part of House Vizsla or Kryze or Rin, it wouldn't mean anything to most people watching. That said, I do think the show could appropriately set the stage for something like that since we'll have like 8 hours to tell this story instead of just 2 or 3. We also know that Dave Filoni has had heavy involvement with The Mandalorian, and of course he was instrumental in the stories of most of the families I'm about to name. So let's explore those names. How about Vizsla? I think I like that idea the best. Star Wars is so often about redemption, and Pre-Vizsla wasn't exactly the best guy in the galaxy. He wanted to keep Mandalorians set in their violent conqueror's past, and he lost his head for it. Maybe the Mandalorian is part of that family, shamed and exiled from Mandalore, and seeking to restore his honor. At first, I think he'll just be accepting of his life as a bounty hunter, but he could have a greater destiny that he needs to accept. Jon Favreau might have some emotional investment in that idea as well, considering he voiced Pre-Vizsla in the show. We've also got the Kryze family to think about. Satine Kryze was the Duchess of Mandalore. Her sister was part of Death Watch alongside Pre-Vizsla, but she's already restored her honor and has taken up the Darksaber the last time we saw it. Bo-Katan being Satine's sister was a surprise in the show, so maybe they have another sibling out there somewhere. I like this idea because I really want to see Katie Sackhoff play a live-action version of Bo-Katan, bringing the Darksaber with her. If she had to go and find her brother for some reason, that would be an easy way to involve her in the story. That would be a fun family to explore as well, because we don't know exactly what happened to Mandalore after Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. Did the Empire launch a counterattack? Why didn't we see any Mandalorians fighting alongside the Rebellion during the rest of the Galactic Civil War? I hope those questions are addressed in the show, and following the Kryze family, who once controlled all of Mandalorian space, would be a very interesting way to do so. I did think about 2 other houses from Star Wars Rebels, the Wrens and the Saxons. I don't think that's likely since Pedro Pascal doesn't match either family very well. I think the next time we see a Wren, it will be following Sabine, and that sounds like the right choice. The Saxons kind of match the Vizsla's story of a once powerful family who fell from grace, but I get the sense that they were mostly wiped out in Star Wars Rebels. That option just doesn't sound as compelling to me. The final option I'll throw out is Clan Marcona from the Star Wars comics. We currently don't even know if they're Mandalorian, but their leader talked about how they used to do mercenary work for the Empire until they were allowed to find peace on their own small moon. But they all seemed to be perfectly capable in a fight, and there were some familiar Mandalorian shapes and iconography throughout their architecture and clothing. They were forced to abandon their home and set out for themselves, so maybe one of the Marconas became the Mandalorian. I think this is very unlikely, but I did throw the theory out there way back when this storyline happened, so I figured I should mention it. Then again, we know so little about the Marconas, if he were related to them, it would almost be like he were a brand new character. It would be a fun connection for those of us that read the comic, but I don't see it being very confusing or out of place for those who didn't. Of course, I think it's very curious that the Mandalorian has a secret name that we will eventually learn. And yeah, I tend to think that means his name is going to be familiar to us in some way, but I still think the most likely result is that he will be a brand new character. I'm not expecting me to be right about any of this, I just wanted to explore the story possibilities if one were to come true. So what do you guys think? Will the Mandalorian be a new character, a Fett, a Vizsla, a Kryze, a Ren, a Saxon, a Marcona, or related to some family I didn't mention? Let me know in the comments. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and consider checking out our Patreon page. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.